Good afternoon, everyone. I'm going to call this meeting to order. This is the Commission on Chicago Landmarks, our regular meeting. Today's date is Thursday, August 5th. I'll start with the roll call of commission members. And as I call your name, if you could let me know that you can hear and see me, that would be great. So let me start. Commissioner Burns is not here yet. Commissioner Tolliver.
I can hear and see you.
Thank you, sir. Commissioner Osmond.
1 second.
I can hear and see you.
Thank you. Commissioner Cox.
I can hear you and I can see you.
Thank you. Commissioner Aguirre.
I can hear you and see you.
Thank you. Commissioner Hughes.
Present, I can hear and see you.
Thank you. Commissioner Jekowitz.
Present, I can hear and see you.
Thank you. Commissioner Ponce.
Hello, I can see and I can hear you.
Thank you. And I'm Commissioner Wong. We do have a quorum. Last year, Governor Pritzker signed Public Act 101-0640, making certain amendments to the Open Meetings Act so that we, along with other boards and commissions, can continue to host virtual meetings during this COVID-19 public health emergency, provided that certain conditions are met. One of those conditions is that I, as head of the Commission on Chicago Landmarks, determine that an in-person meeting of the Commission on Chicago Landmarks and its permit review committee are not practical or prudent. I want to make sure that our virtual meeting meets all the conditions of the Open Meetings Act as amended. Therefore, I'm making the determination pursuant to Section 7E2 of the Open Meetings Act that an in-person meeting of this Commission on Chicago Landmarks and its permit review committee is not practical or prudent. Similarly, I'm also making a determination pursuant to Section 7E5 that because of a disaster as declared by the governor, it is unfeasible for at least one member of the Commission on Chicago Landmarks or its chief administrative officer or its chief legal officer to be physically present at the meeting place for either meeting. Pursuant to a resolution adopted by the Commission on Chicago Landmarks on June 4th, 2020, regarding the chairman's emergency rulemaking powers, I issued emergency rules governing the conduct of remote public commission meetings and provisions for remote public participation, effective January 19th, 2021. Those rules were posted on the Commission's website. In line with those emergency rules, today's regular Commission meeting is a virtual meeting being simulcast to the general public via live streaming. Commission meetings have been held virtually since May of last year. Meetings are structured to minimize the chances for technical difficulties. Members of the general public have been encouraged to submit written statements in advance of the meeting, and these have been posted on the Commission's website and are available for public use during the virtual meeting at www.chicago.gov/CCL. Members of the public desiring to speak at today's meeting were required to register before the meeting, and verbal statements by the public for all agenda items will take place at the beginning of the meeting. Applicants and the representatives, as well as aldermen, were asked to contact staff if they desire to speak, and they will be able to do so after the staff presentation on a specific project. 6 members of the general public signed up to speak as of deadline 12:45 p.m. on Tuesday, August 3rd, and were provided instructions regarding how to do so. I'd like to call upon these people now. Please limit your comments to 3 minutes. Begin by stating your name and the association you represent, if any, for the record. One person signed up to speak about agenda item 2, the landmark recommendation for the Monastery of the Holy Cross. And Mr. Chavez, Max Chavez, we'd love to hear from you.
Can you hear me all right?
We sure can.
Perfect. Chairman Wong and members of the Commission on Chicago Landmarks, this is Max Chavez, Director of Research and Special Projects for Preservation Chicago. And I'm once more speaking to voice Preservation Chicago's full and proud support for the potential landmark designation of Monastery of the Holy Cross, originally Immaculate Conception Church in Bridgeport at 3101 to 3111 South Aberdeen. When construction was completed in 1909, this Gothic revival church, designed by German-born immigrant Hermann J. Gall, helped to settle and solidify the majority German congregation of Immaculate Conception Parish in a permanent place of great beauty there on South Aberdeen. They were provided with a collective home of which to be proud, as well as a community landmark that they could call their own. It was the thriving social and religious heart of this parish and was one of the largest and finest German Roman Catholic national parish churches in all of Bridgeport, let alone the city of Chicago. Currently, it is the last national parish church left standing in the entire Bridgeport area. Gall was known for his ability to carry out sumptuous commissions for German Roman Catholic clients that fit the various needs of the community, while also bringing in Germanic visual elements that alluded to the country that he and his clients left behind. His work on this church stands as an exemplar of this talent. Its many Gothic details combine in perfect harmony to elicit an impressive and awe-inspiring first impression. The church's steeples seem to reach endlessly towards the heaven, while its intricate statuary, lancet windows, and handsome brickwork would not be out of place in an old world German town. This wonderful exterior is rivaled only by the church's interior, in which can be found shimmering stained glass windows, many of which were produced by Austria's Tyrolese Art Glass Company, and high vaulted ceilings which produce unparalleled acoustics, a feature that Gall was noted as being especially adept at engineering. Upon entering, one gets an overwhelming sense of comfort and serenity that can only be attributed to the way Gall manifested faith and devotion into visual and architectural beauty. Many of his designs have been noted for their historical and architectural importance. Multiple Gall-designed buildings, such as the Athenaeum Theater on North Southport and St. Benedict Church on Irving Park Road, are listed on the Chicago Historic Resources Survey, while others have attained a level of national acknowledgement, having been entered into the National Register of Historic Places. It's clear that Gall was a master of his craft, further bolstering the fact that his work on the Monastery of the Holy Cross should certainly be commemorated by designating it a Chicago landmark. Once again, we thank the Department of Planning for their efforts in bringing the Monastery of the Holy Cross to this, the final stage of landmark consideration. We're absolutely thrilled at the possibility that this singular historical and architectural site will soon join the ranks of Chicago's greatest and most significant buildings. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mr. Chavez. We had one person signed up to speak on agenda item number 3, the landmark recommendation for the Muddy Waters House. And Mary Lou Seidel, we'd love to hear from you.
Thank you, Commissioner. Can you hear me?
We sure can.
Great. Thank you, Commissioner Wong and members of the Commission on Chicago Landmarks. Preservation Chicago is honored to support the final recommendation of the Muddy Waters House located at 4339 South Lake Park Avenue as a designated Chicago landmark. The home is already part of the North Kenwood Chicago Landmark District. However, its association with McKinley Morganfield, also known as Muddy Waters, elevates this home to be worthy of its own individual designation. From when Mr. Morganfield purchased the home in 1954, his place quickly became a gathering place for legendary musicians who would jam in his basement and visit while recording or gigging in town. His list of guests would make an incredible Blues Hall of Fame roster. The music that flowed through and around this home created a blues sound that was uniquely Chicago via the Mississippi Delta. We at Preservation Chicago fully support the Chicago landmark designation of the Muddy Waters House, along with the findings in the report of the Department of Planning and Development. We look forward to the building joining Chicago's esteemed list of world-renowned landmark buildings. Many thanks to Ms. Chandra Cooper, Muddy Waters' great-granddaughter, and her family for the vision of preserving and landmarking this house with such an incredible history. Blues fans around the world are grateful for Ms. Cooper's commitment to restoring the building and developing a museum which celebrates this artistic, musical, and cultural history that is so much a part of Chicago. Thank you to the Commission on Chicago Landmarks for your consideration of this nomination, and a special thank you to our partners at Landmarks Illinois for working with McKinley Morganfield's family to get to this place. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ms. Seidel. 4 people have signed up to speak on agenda item number 4, the landmark recommendation for the Halsted Willow Group. We'll start with Lisa DiChiara.
Good afternoon, everyone. Lisa DiChiara, Director of Advocacy for Landmarks Illinois. We are, of course, in full support of the proposed Chicago landmark designation of the Halstead and Willow Group. In 2013, Landmarks Illinois was first alerted to the development pressure that was proposed to demolish 1800 North Hallstead, which we knew then would have an impact on the rest of the intersection, which is incredibly intact. With multiple partners, Lincoln Central Association, Ranch Triangle, Alderman Michelle Smith, and then of course, later the additional assistance of Alderman Brian Hopkins, we've had full support to move forward with protection for these buildings. We brought these buildings forward to you all some years ago with the assistance of staff. We're so thankful to Matt Crawford for his guidance. And then, of course, the late Terry Tatum, who helped prepare the designation report in front of you. And it was wonderful to think that this was one of his last designation reports to be prepared for the city. His knowledge is so important and preserved also in this designation report. Our grants, we gave grant assistance toward this designation. We all understand the significance of this intersection, and we really hope that you will proceed with a final landmark recommendation for all of these buildings at the Halsted and Willow corners. And again, thank you everyone for your support, and especially the locals who have advocated for this for so many years.
Thank you, Lisa. We'd like to hear from Deirdre Graziano.
Thank you so much. Yes,
Okay.
can you hear me now?
We sure can.
Okay, thank you so much. I wanted to tell you, I want to first of all, thank you for allowing me to appear before you, but I wanted to give you a little bit of history. This journey, seeking the landmarking of the Halsted Willow Group, began years ago. It began when everyday people like myself feared the loss of historic buildings they loved, somber brick and mortar that held our immigrant past and anchored our historic gateway. Approaching the commission to many of us was like approaching Mount Olympus to face the gods and seek their favor. It was at times intimidating. Today, to be on the same agenda as Muddy Waters Home is humbling. There is so much in Chicago to cherish and preserve. We owe our legacy to future generations. I am now less intimidated in appearing before you, but be aware, we the common people are counting on you to assure our prodigies these properties will continue to stand. To paraphrase George M. Cohen, our fathers thank you, our mothers thank you, our children thank you, and we, the Lincoln Park community, thank you. As a personal note, Jane Coy, who appeared before this commission in 2007 for the Arlington Deming grouping, told me to just speak from my heart today, and that is what I have done. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ms. Graziano. We'd like to hear from Diane Levin, please. Ms. Levin.
Can you hear me?
We sure can.
Thank you. My name is Diane Levin. I'm a longtime homeowner, a member of the Ranch Triangle Community Group. Thank you for this chance to comment on the importance of the Halsted Willow Group, the gateway to our neighborhood. It's significant this newest potential district is called a group because it's unique, an entry to a distinctive part of the city. A neighborhood is, after all, a collection of people of varied interests and agendas who share an appreciation for the collective impact of the buildings and the aesthetic that they set for an area. This community is notable for the convenience, charm, and most of all, its sense of permanence. Change is inevitable in this city, but change at the price of identity is too high if Chicago is to retain the characteristics of a world-class city with history, energy, and character intact. These buildings are pedestrian-friendly. They offer an immediate transition from the pace and scale along and south of North Avenue. The impetus for preserving this corner was set in motion decades ago, as you know by now, by the real estate giant John Baird, who deliberately left what he called linking buildings in place as he reinvigorated the surrounding blocks. The need to strengthen that protection became urgent when the buildings were sold. The developer told our community that this area no longer fit into the greater area and that we needed more high-rises. And that is the risk of transient stewardship when it overlooks the intrinsic value of a combined collection. The strength of Chicago is its neighborhoods and their ability to attract the investment of future residents and business owners. The Halsted Willow Group is an example of enduring history, the wisdom of previous owners who were stewards, and the ongoing appeal currently and for generations of residents to come, it does deserve landmark status. A thank you to everyone who has labored for so long and so hard on this landmark moment. Landmarks Illinois, Alderman Smith and Hopkins, Deirdre Graziano and all of Lincoln Central, Ranch Triangle, and to you commissioners for considering this and taking this moment to its final stage, which we hope will be the passage and protection of the Halsted Willow Group. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ms. Levin. And finally, can we hear from Ward Miller, please?
Can you hear me?
We sure can. Thank you.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Chairman Wong and members of the Commission on Chicago Landmarks. I'm Ward Miller, Executive Director of Preservation Chicago. We at Preservation Chicago fully support the final landmark recommendation and Chicago landmark designation of the Halsted Willow Group of 4 buildings located at the corner of North Halstead and West Willow Streets in our city. These 4 structures offer a visual history of development along the Halstead Street corridor in the Lincoln Park community. They also reflect a history relating to the German-American community on Chicago's north side and give insight into Lincoln Park's history and built environment during the last decades of the 19th century. Each of these 4 structures is a finely crafted building, from the Frank Nissan structure housing Vinci Restaurant, constructed in 1889, to the twin buildings, the Zuber and Gespitz drugstore buildings, both circa 1880. Also, Hammerstrom's Hall, also known as the Schulians building, built as a combination storefront, apartment, and social hall, and dating to 1883. These buildings situated on the corner of Halstead and Willow are remarkable in character and define a gateway as well as an anchor to the commercial district beyond and to the Armitage Halstead landmark district to the north. Urban renewal efforts of the 1960s and 1970s left much of the commercial streets to the south of this site and near the Yondorf Hall building vacant of structures with huge empty parcels. It's almost difficult to imagine that not too long ago, this immediate area near North and Clybourne Avenues was sort of a tenderloin district, which had suffered from many heavy-handed land clearance policies. Those policies demolished vast swaths of historic buildings and displaced large amounts of people in the process. The historic buildings before you today are survivors, if you will, of urban renewal programs and also represent a new vision of the greater Lincoln Park community when the community was, as a whole, experiencing a tremendous renaissance and reinvestment, which transformed this area of Lincoln Park in the late 1970s and beyond. These 4 structures will be a fine addition to our neighborhood landmark districts across Chicago, and we at Preservation Chicago are so proud to have worked with community members and preservation partners, including Landmarks Illinois, for more than 5 years towards this goal and outcome. Special thanks are in order to neighborhood residents and partners, especially Deirdre Graziano, Diane Levin, Diane Gonzalez, Alan Mellis, numerous community organizations, along with Alderman Michelle Smith and Alderman Brian Hopkins, along with their staffs. And of course, we are also remembering our Terry Tatum, who prepared this landmark designation report before you. We at Preservation Chicago fully support the final landmark recommendation of the Halsted Willow Group. Thank you.
Wow, that's amazing. Ward, I'm going to give you a second to catch your breath because you also signed up to speak on item number 5, the Class L certification for the old post office building. So whenever you're ready.
I caught my breath, Commissioner.
Okay, there you go.
Okay, we at Preservation Chicago fully support the Class L property incentives for the old Chicago, Maine post office, designed by noted architects Graham Anderson, Probst and White, and located at 401 to 439 West Van Buren Street in Chicago. For many years, we advocated for the full preservation of this building and a Chicago landmark designation, even prior to the post office relocating to a new facility across the street. Early plans for this mammoth structure had developed over time with various reuse ideas, which all included demolition of huge sections of this amazing Art Deco, Art Moderne building, the world's largest post office facility. Many of us that formed Preservation Chicago advocated strongly for the preservation of the entire building when many developers stated the building was just too big and large sections spanning the expressway would have to be demolished, leaving only the original much smaller 1920s building and essentially two sections of the Art Deco building fronting Van Buren and Harrison, bookend structures, if you will. We found this argument to be unacceptable and offered that no building was too large for downtown Chicago and would one even consider cutting off the top half of the Sears Tower as it was too large, perhaps too tall a building. All of this seemed to be a short-sighted argument and concept, and eventually waned under the ownership of Bill Davies, the London-based developer who planned a vast city of buildings around the old post office structure that never materialized. When the city attempted eminent demolition from the former owner, we testified before members of the city council that this building should be redeveloped, reused, and given Chicago landmark designation. And under the ownership of 601W of New York, the vision of a redeveloped Maine post office became a reality. The historic building is now headquarters for many Chicago-based firms and multinational companies, and has reinvigorated this southwest corner of downtown Chicago with amazing results. So Preservation Chicago very much honors the redevelopment of the old Chicago post office, once considered for demolition in part, and long considered a white elephant for more than 20 years. We applaud the efforts of 601W and the city for having the wherewithal and the commitment to revision, repurpose, renovate, and restore the significant features of this mammoth structure, one of the nation's largest historic building redevelopment projects. The old post office shines as beautifully restored on its exterior and interior lobby as an anchor building for the southwest corner of Chicago's downtown. With that noted, we applaud this use of Class L property tax incentive as a tool, and also recognize the incredible work of 601W in this new reuse effort. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mr. Miller. That is all of the members of the general public who've signed up to speak for the at this commission meeting, and we'll now go through the agenda. So the first item on here is the approval of the minutes of the previous meeting, that was included in your packages. I'd like to request a motion to approve the minutes of the July 1st, 2021 regular commission meeting. Can I have a motion?
So move, Commissioner Aguirre.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Hi, Commissioner Osmond.
Thank you, Commissioner Osmond. Go through the roll call. Commissioner Tolliver,
Yes.
Commissioner Cox, Commissioner Cox. I'll come back to you. Commissioner Hughes,
Yes.
Commissioner Jekowitz,
Yes.
Commissioner Ponce.
Yes.
I am also a yes. Can I hear if Commissioner Cox is still here? The motion carries. We'll go on to the next item, is the final landmark recommendation for the Monastery of the Holy Cross, formerly Immaculate Conception Church at 3101 South Aberdeen Street in the 11th Ward. And Dan Kleiber, if you'd let us know what's going on.
Yeah. Great. Can you hear me okay?
No,
We sure can.
They just started. They just had the public comment.
Thank you, Chairman Wong. Staff are here today with a final recommendation for landmark designation of the Monastery of the Holy Cross. The Monastery of the Holy Cross, formerly Immaculate Conception Catholic Church, is a significant neighborhood religious complex that continues to serve the Bridgeport community area. It was completed in 1909 by a German Catholic parish and served the area as a church until 1990. In 1991, it became the home of the Monastery of the Holy Cross, a Roman Catholic Benedictine monastery. In 2018, Father Peter Funk of the monastery made a suggestion to the Commission on Chicago Landmarks Program Committee that it be designated a Chicago landmark. To orient you, the Monastery of the Holy Cross is located on Chicago's near southwest side. The church and adjoining rectory building to the south are at the southeast corner of Aberdeen Street and 31st Street, shaded in black on the map. At the June 2021 Commission meeting, the monastery was found to meet 3 criteria for designation, including criterion 1 for its significance to the city of Chicago as a neighborhood church that served as an important part of cultural life in Chicago's German community and later other ethnic communities. Indeed, in 1891, Immaculate Conception's 3rd resident pastor, Father Peter L. Bierman, obtained the finances for the construction of a combination school, church, and convent at the present location. The new church was designed for a national parish to serve the German-speaking residents of Bridgeport and was a hub for the area's thriving German-American communities in the early 20th century. The rectory of the church was completed first in 1901, while the church itself was completed during 1908 through 1909. The designation was also found to meet criterion 4 as a finely crafted example of neighborhood-scaled ecclesiastical architecture executed in the Gothic Revival style. Immaculate Conception was inspired by Germany's Cologne Cathedral, the most significant religious structure in the hometown of the church's architect, Hermann J. Gall. As is common for Gothic Revival churches, Immaculate Conception is a masonry building with structural elements such as tall, narrow windows and a slender tower that accentuates its vertical proportions. In addition, carved stone statuary and brick ornamentation with fine decorative detail used throughout provided an opportunity for Gall to offer the neighborhood a high-style church while also matching the material of surrounding brick cottages and 2 flats. The designation was also found to meet criterion 5 for its association with architect Hermann J. Gall. The Monastery of the Holy Cross is a significant early work of Gall, a renowned Chicago-based ecclesiastical architect of the early 20th century. After coming to the United States, Gall settled in Chicago in 1897 and apprenticed for a time with Chicago architect Louis Sullivan. Gall catered to Chicago's large German-American population, designing an array of buildings throughout the city and beyond that exuded the finest characteristics of Gothic Revival architecture. In addition to the landmark criteria just discussed, the Monastery of the Holy Cross was also found to meet the separate integrity criterion. The Monastery of the Holy Cross possesses good physical integrity displayed through its siting, scale, overall design, and historic relationship to the surrounding area. It retains its historic overall exterior form and a majority of all exterior materials, features, and detailing. Since the church was completed in 1909, no major additions or alterations have been made to the building. In conclusion, the monastery is located in the 11th Ward, and Alderman Patrick Thompson has expressed his support for the proposed designation. In addition, Father Peter Funk of the monastery is in support and on behalf of the monastery has consented to the designation and is here today. Finally, DPD would like to thank Preservation Chicago, who contributed significantly to the designation report. Therefore, staff recommends that the significant historical and architectural features of the building be identified as all exterior elevations, including roof lines of the building, and the 2-story flat building south of the church's apse and masonry wall parallel to the east-west alley directly south of West 31st Street are both excluded from the significant features. You have a final landmark recommendation to that effect. Thank you.
Thank you, Dan. Does the commission have any questions of Dan at this time? Seeing nobody's hands. The only question I had, Dan, so the interiors of this building are not designated?
They are not designated. That's
okay.
Correct.
I just wanted to make sure. Great. Father Funk, are you available?
Yes. Can you hear me?
We sure can.
Good.
Go ahead, please.
Well, I don't have a lot to add to what Max and Dan have said. We're very enthusiastic about the possibility of this designation. And one thing I think is important to say is that as a group of monks, we all make a vow of stability. And so that means we stay in this place for the rest of our religious life. And so we're very much committed to the neighborhood of Bridgeport. And we'd be happy to stay in this home as long as we can. So we're very much in support of the designation. We thank you for your time today.
Thank you, Father Funk. Does the commission have any questions for Father Funk? And seeing none, I'd like to request a motion to adopt the final landmark recommendation for the Monastery of the Holy Cross, formerly Immaculate Conception Church. Is there a motion?
So move.
So moved by Commissioner Tolliver. Is there a second?
Second, Commissioner Aguirre.
Thank you, Commissioner Aguirre. I'll do the roll call. Commissioner Osmond,
Approve.
Commissioner Cox. Still unavailable. Commissioner Hughes,
Yes.
Commissioner Jekowitz,
Yes.
Commissioner Ponce,
Yes.
and I am also a yes. Commissioner Cox, are you still there? Have it on record that Commissioner Cox was present. Thank you. The motion carries. Congratulations, Father Funk, and good luck to you.
Thank you.
Okay. The next item on the agenda is the final landmark recommendation for the Muddy Waters House located at 4339 South Lake Park Avenue in the 4th Ward. And Kendallin, if you could open us up with a report, please.
Glad to. Thank you, Chairman Wong. So on the agenda today is the final landmark recommendation for the proposed individual landmark of 4339 South Lake Park Avenue. This 1891 structure served as the home of Muddy Waters and family from 1954 to 1973. The hospitality extended to Chicago's blues community, and musicians who came to record or perform in Chicago made the home an unofficial center for the Chicago blues community, a community largely composed of African Americans whose gifts to the world not only shaped the future course of popular music, but one which gave the world a uniquely American art form, which speaks to the incredible resilience of the human spirit. As you know, the home is located on the south side of Chicago in the North Kenwood neighborhood and was included in that North Kenwood multiple resource district previously landmarked. Next slide, Joyce. Thanks. This home's significance, however, to the city and the nation rises above the level of simply being a contributing structure within the district. In June, the commission voted that the history associated with this individual home met the requirements needed to qualify this structure as an individual landmark with a distinct era of significance that deserves to be recognized, protected, and celebrated. The owner agrees and has consented to the proposed designation. So the first criterion that the commission found it met was the heritage criteria. So McKinley Morganfield, better known as Muddy Waters, was born in rural Mississippi, the son of a sharecropper. Muddy Waters' migration from the Mississippi Delta to Chicago in the middle of the 20th century mirrored the journey of many African Americans who left their homes to flee the Jim Crow South and to find better opportunities in northern urban centers. They brought with them their culture and traditions, which enriched their newfound homes. When Muddy Waters and his contemporaries' musical heritage took root in Chicago and was amplified to reach ever larger crowds, the Chicago blues that emerged sent the heartbeat of America's culture around the world. The Chicago blues, created by musicians like Muddy Waters, Howlin' Wolf, Little Walter, Willie Dixon, Sonny Boy Williamson II, and many others, would influence generations of musicians. They honed their craft in the blues clubs of Chicago, centered on the south and west sides. These clubs' clientele was predominantly African American, and many of the patrons had grown up in southern states where this music would have been familiar. These blues masters' recordings first made the charts due largely to the same audience and across the United States. But that audience diversified and expanded across the Atlantic by the late 1950s and 60s. Events like the Newport Jazz Festival in 1960 provided national exposure to artists like Muddy Waters. The folk music craze in England that allowed Waters to tour internationally in 1958 and 62 also increased that exposure. American blues became part of the mix of music that young musicians in England sought out and imitated, influencing the sound of rock and roll as it emerged in mainstream culture, as acknowledged by rock legends such as Chuck Berry, Mick Jagger, Keith Richards, Eric Clapton, Jimi Hendrix, Jeff Beck, Eric Burdon, and many others. By the early 1950s, independent record companies such as Chess, King, VJ, Chance, and Parrot, and distributors like United and Bronzeville were headquartered around Cottage Grove from 47th to 50th Streets. Muddy Waters' home at 4339 South Lake Park was located near these businesses and the concentrations of blues clubs on 43rd and 47th Streets. Due to proximity, Muddy Waters' home turned into a gathering place for other blues musicians and entertainers. Muddy Waters offered open-door hospitality at 4339 South Lake Park Avenue with his wife, Geneva. Musicians were welcomed at all hours. Not only food and drink, but lodging was also offered to traveling musicians. Fellow blues legend Howlin' Wolf stayed there as he resettled himself in Chicago. Chuck Berry, befriended by Waters, stayed at the home while in town to record at Chess. Band members occupied the second floor flats. Rehearsals were held in the basement. Visitors included Buddy Guy, Coco Taylor, B.B. King, and many, too many countless others to mention here. The commission also found that the home meets criterion 3 for its association with a person who contributed significantly to the development of the city, state, or nation. So considered by many to be the father of the Chicago blues, Waters was one of the most important figures in the development of that distinctive electrified sound. Muddy Waters skillfully married the raw acoustic Delta blues he learned in Mississippi with amplification to create a powerful new sound that could be heard in the loudest of Chicago nightclubs and beyond. Equally, if not more essential to that sound was his singing, and critics agree Waters would be remembered as a vocal artist of astonishing depth and power if he had never touched a guitar. Muddy Waters' recordings like Mannish Boy, I Want to Be Loved, and Rollin' and Tumblin' became part of the repertoire of English rock and roll bands of the 1960s. Among these imitators were the Rolling Stones, who recorded their own versions of a number of Chicago blues songs and who took their name from Waters' single Like a Rolling Stone. These musicians would in turn help to awaken white American audiences to the blues that had always been in their backyard. Waters recorded with the Chicago's Chess Records from 1947 through 1975. 16 of the songs released on singles became Billboard R&B chart hits. These included originals and traditional songs Waters had reworked, as well as songs penned by fellow Chess Records performer Willie Dixon. 5 of Waters' albums would make the Billboard Top 200 from 1969 to 81. Waters and his work have been honored by the Blues Foundation and the Grammys, including the Grammy Lifetime Achievement Award, and he was posthumously inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame in 1987. The story of Muddy Waters informs us of the history of the nation at large and Chicago in particular. In the latter half of the 20th century, Chicago shaped his music, and he made Chicago synonymous with the blues. His home at 4339 South Lake Park served as that informal center of the blues community and meets the criteria required to become an individual City of Chicago landmark. The home's exterior looks much like it did when Waters lived there, and the significant features in the proposed landmark designation are designed to preserve that era of significance from 1954 to 73, when Waters and his family lived at 4339 South Lake Park. Letters and emails of support have been forwarded to you, commissioners. Alderman King has provided a letter of support, and she is here today and would like to make a statement. Owner Chandra Cooper and her mother Amelia Cooper, both of whom lived at 4339 South Lake Park Avenue, are here today, along with Lisa DiChiara of Landmarks, Illinois, who has worked to support this designation for some time. Thank you very much. I'm happy to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you, Kendallin. Does the commission have any questions for Kendallin at this time? If not, I'm going to call on Alderman King. Are you there? And would you like to make a statement at this time, or would you like to wait until after the team?
I could go now or then.
The floor is yours.
Okay, well, thank you. Thank you, Chairman Wong, Vice Chair Zekowitz. Always have to acknowledge my constituent Reverend Tolliver and the rest of the distinguished members of the commission. Appreciate you allowing me to speak here again. I'll try and be brief, but I want to sum up some points. I've been here before preserving other iconic landmarks, and I'm happy to be here today, especially preserving this or recommending that this landmark be preserved as well, specifically the Muddy Waters House. As I said before, Commissioner, I truly appreciate this commission's independence. I talked to you before about the struggles kind of landmarking the Johnson building, especially around the Ebony Jet sign, and juxtaposed to the Essex building, right down the street, a couple doors down, and the difference in the two, and I think was really, a barrier, quite frankly, around racism and how those two went together. But, as a young alderman, I was able to visualize, the Essex building kind of going right through, and the Johnson building being more challenged around the signage, both having, kind of equal signs. But I do appreciate the way this commission stepped up and independently advocated to keep the Ebony Jet sign on the Johnson building. To that end, I'm proud to be here today to talk about Muddy Waters and his contribution. I'm not going to repeat everything that Ms. Hahn just shared, but as you know, Muddy Waters, has made great contributions to the city, to our country and the world. As Ms. Hahn eloquently stated, and this house is an important part of that history, and needs to be treated as such. I've mentioned I'm extremely proud because my family comes from the Mississippi Delta in the same area where Muddy Waters comes from. And so I'm extremely proud that he, coming from such humble beginnings, has done so much to bring blues to not only the city, but to the world stage. And so I'm proud to be here before you guys today, recommending that this house be landmarked. So I personally support landmarking this house, as you guys have a letter that our office has submitted. But more importantly, I would say my community supports landmarking this house as well. The North Kenwood Oakland community has had the opportunity to have several engaging conversations about the Muddy Waters House, and proudly supports its landmarking as well. And so with that, I am asking for the commission's favorable consideration for landmarking the Muddy Waters home. So thank you, Chairman, for allowing me to present here to you today.
Thank you, Alderman King. Really appreciate it. Does the commission have any questions for Alderman King? And seeing none, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
We also have Chandra Cooper, Amelia Cooper, I think it is, Lisa DiChiara, and Ned Torres. If you'd like to make a statement. Ms. Cooper. Are you on mute? I hear something.
Good afternoon. Can you hear me?
We sure can. Go ahead.
Okay, good. So I just want to say thank you so much for this time, and on behalf of the Muddy Waters family, we would like to just thank the Commission of Landmark for this opportunity and recognizing this property as a significant structure in the city of Chicago. We look forward to working with the City of Chicago, the Alderwoman's Office, and the Blues community to ensure that this house is maintained and honored and in the community and preserved properly. So just thank you all for this opportunity, and we just look forward to next steps. Thank you so much. And also, I just wanted to just give a special shout out to Alderwoman King. I'm just so happy that we are able to just work together and just do what's best for the community and for this house. And so I'm just so appreciative of all of you guys today. Thank you.
And we appreciate you as well, Ms. Cooper. It's been great working with you, and that event that we had, I look forward to many more of those. So thank you for that. Sorry, Chairman, I jumped in there.
Thank you.
You're good. You're good. Was there anybody else from the team that'd like to speak?
Hi, it's Lisa DiChiara. I'll just pitch in there that, again, this has been an incredible team effort. And Chandra and I have known each other now for many years, and it's been a great ride. And we've really come a long way. And I really admire Chandra for her perseverance and her leadership. And you as well, Alderwoman King. And we look forward to continuing to focus on next steps with continued work on the building. As you all may have already heard, some first phase critical repairs have already been done thanks to grant funding from the National Trust for Historic Preservation and a little bit from Landmarks Illinois. We're just really excited about this ongoing renovation effort. And just a reminder to everyone, the reason too why this designation is so significant, even though the building is already located in a multiple property resource district and technically already protected from that designation years ago, is because we really wanted to bring forth this individual landmark designation to make the point, as Candelin pointed out, the period of significance of 1954 to 1973, because that other district really focuses in on the late 19th century, early 20th century buildings, including this building in terms of its period of construction. And now this is really giving the building its due truly from the period of Muddy Waters residency there. I also just want to give a quick shout out to Candelin Hahn, because she's done an incredible job really making this report into something that I think is a beautiful document. She's dug up some incredible images and given it additional information that I could have never done. And for those of you that don't know, she did her master's thesis in 2005 at Cornell University on rock and roll historic sites, and she included chess records. So she was definitely the qualified staff person to work on this designation report with us. I really want to thank her.
Thank you, Lisa. That's wonderful. Does the commission have any questions for the team? Seeing none, I actually did have a real quick question for Ms. Cooper. Is that piano still down in the basement?
I wish, but it is not. Yes.
It's not. Okay. Maybe we ought to get you another one so things can continue.
Please, please. And thank you, Candelin, and also Lisa, so much. Love Landmarks Illinois. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, well, with all of that.
Mr. Chairman.
Yeah, Commissioner Aguirre, please go ahead.
No worries. I don't have a question. More just want to celebrate and really commend everyone for their energy and time spent in this process. We know what it takes to come to this moment. So everyone, Mrs. Cooper, Lisa DiChiara, Alderwoman King for her support. I think everyone deserves an acknowledgement, and I'm just really excited to be in this meeting looking at this project designation.
Thank you. Thank you, Commissioner. With that, would you like to make the motion?
I would love to make a motion, of course.
Okay.
Super excited.
Okay, Commissioner Geary has the motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Hughes. I'll do the roll call. Commissioner Tolliver,
Yes.
Commissioner Osmond,
Excited to approve.
Commissioner Cox.
Absolutely, yes. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Jekowitz,
Yes.
Commissioner Ponce.
Yes, equally excited.
And I am a absolute hands down yes on this. Congratulations, everybody. The motion carries unanimously. Wonderful.
Thank you.
Congratulations and good luck.
Thank you.
Yep.
Congrats.
Thank you.
We'll see you all there as it continues. The next item is the report from public hearing and final landmark recommendation for the Halsted Willow Group. This is the property. These are the properties located at 1726 to 1808 North Halstead Street and 1727 to 1733 North Halstead Street, as well as 800 to 812 West Willow Avenue and 745 to 813 West Willow Street. This is in wards 2 and 43, Alderman Hopkins and Alderman Smith. I'd like to announce that a public hearing was held on July 12th regarding the proposed landmark designation of the Halsted Willow Group at 1726 to 1808 North Halstead Street, Evens, the 1727 to 1733 North Halstead Street, Odds, 800 to 812 West Willow Street, Evens, and 745 to 813 West Willow Street, Odds. Before I call on staff for a presentation, let me reiterate that the public hearing was a forum for introducing evidence and cross-examining witnesses for the proposed designation. The commission has received copies of any received correspondence, as well as the transcript and exhibits from the public hearing. However, I'll allow brief comments from the property owners or their representatives should they wish to address the commission. The 3 property owners were invited, and one of them has sent a representative today. So I'd call on Bernard Citron, if you'd like to make a statement on behalf of the owners of 1727 to 1729 North Halstead. Mr. Citron.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the commission. My name is Bernard Citron. I'm with the law firm of Thompson Coburn. I'm here representing the owners of 1727 North Halstead. Very briefly, our main issue with this going forward is the fact that this is being designated as a district as opposed to individually landmarking the buildings. And once more, in an earlier discussion on the church that was recommended for landmark status today, it came out as to exactly the reason why. When this commission voted to accept the landmark recommendation of the church, it exempted certain elevations, certain facades of that church, because they no longer met the standards for landmarking. Unfortunately, when you designate a district, you don't, at least I've been told by staff at the commission, that you don't have the ability to do that. And therein lies our problem. We have no intention of tearing down this building. The site is too small to redevelop by itself. Our client did purchase this, unlike going back in time to Penn Central, where the railroad bought the property for railroad purposes, and the Supreme Court said, you didn't buy it for an investment, and therefore you can't count on this. Our client did buy this as an investment and relied upon this as an investment. But when they purchased this property, 2 of the facades had already been compromised. Now, not to the extent that that staff and the reports and the neighbors would say it shouldn't be protected, but they have been compromised. The lower level along Hallstead was significantly compromised. It doesn't go at all with the remainder of that front facade. The south elevation was entirely compromised, but there's no protection for that. So for instance, we have a small property owner who owns a commercial property on Hallstead. We know just from driving these streets that these properties, especially the commercial components, are ending up more and more vacant. That's what's happening on streets even as highly traveled as Halstead. So when they get to the point, if they get to the point where they need to put a new tenant there, that tenant is going to potentially ask for changes to just the lower level, forgetting about the upper levels because that has been well maintained and will remain that way. But that lower level will be changed. At that point in time, there is no guarantee that your own staff would make them, in effect, put it back to the way it was, so that the building will more correspond with the remainder of that building. Now, I've been told, well, we don't do this. And while I've worked with your current staff, there's no telling what future staff would do, or even what the future commission may do, the permit committee may do, when it comes time to make those changes. Whereas if this was a separate building, if this was a separate dedication, the ordinance itself could address that. The same thing with that south elevation. It is entirely visible. It's not real pretty, I'll grant you that, but it is entirely visible from Halstead. If someone decides to build, the future owner decides to build on that vacant lot, which has some attributes to it, what we have seen in this community, with all due respect to the community, we know have worked really hard on this project for a number of years, but this community has used the landmark process to fight against development. We've been involved in those fights before. It's a very effective program. It's not appropriate, I would argue, that the landmark process should not be in effect. I'm going to use a very pejorative term here, I apologize, but the landmark process should not be weaponized to stop development. It should be followed in the appropriate and legal manner. But if someone comes forward and says, we want to do a project on that vacant lot, it is part of the district. It's not set out otherwise. And it would be very easy for this community, who has already done this, to fight against that. So again, with all due respect, our biggest issue is not the designation of an individual building, which could and probably should have been done. It's only 4 buildings. That's what our issue is. Thank you very much.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Citron. Does the commission have any questions for Mrs. Citron? I don't see any hands being raised. If there are no other questions, I'd like to call on Commissioner Hughes for the hearing officer's report. Commissioner Hughes will call on Daniel Kleiber to give a presentation and staff recommendation. And Commissioner Hughes, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Chairman. The public hearing on the proposed landmark designation of the Halsted Willow Group was held on July 12th, 2021 at 1 p.m. virtually via Zoom. The purpose of the hearing was to gather relevant facts and information to assist the commission in deciding whether the group meets the criteria for landmark designation set forth in 2-120-620 of the Landmarks Ordinance. I was the hearing officer on behalf of the commission. The hearing was required because at the end of the property owner consent period, which was March 22nd, 2021, commission staff had not received consent to the designation from all of the property owners in the proposed group, per section 2-120-650 of the Landmarks Ordinance. As of today, commission staff have received 2 of the 4 consents for the designation and 0 non-consent forms, which are part of the record of the hearing. Copies of the public hearing transcript and commission documents submitted at the hearing will be distributed to Copies of the public hearing transcript and commission documents submitted to the hearing have been distributed to the commission members. Originals of these documents have been made available to the commission members at the Historic Preservation Division's office. The commission staff's presentation recommending the proposed landmark designation was given by Daniel Kleiber of the Historic Preservation Division. A representative of one of the property owners who is opposed to the designation requested and was granted party status. This representative spoke against the designation. No other party owners or members of the general public requested party status. 5 members of the general public made statements in support of the landmark designation, including the representative of Landmarks Illinois, as well as staff representation of Alderman Hopkins' office and Alderman Michelle Smith. No property owners nor other members of the general public made statements in opposition of the designation. The total length of the hearing was approximately 60 minutes. And now I would like to call Dan Kleiber of the commission staff to make the presentation for the final landmark recommendation of the Halsted Willow Group. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Hughes.
Good afternoon. Can you hear me okay?
We sure can.
Thank you, Dan Kleiber with DPD. I'm here today with the final recommendation for the landmark designation of the Halsted Willow Group of 4 buildings located at approximately 1800 North Halstead Street. As has been noted throughout the designation process, this proposed landmark designation has been a community-driven effort that has been in the works for years and has involved the Lincoln Central Association, Ranch Triangle Association, Landmarks Illinois, and countless other individual residents and stakeholders, as well as Alderman Smith and Alderman Hopkins. To help orient you overall, the subject buildings are located in the southwestern portion of the Lincoln Park community area, approximately 3 miles northwest of the Central Business District at the intersection of North Halstead Street and West Willow Street, as represented by the red star. Taking a closer look at the intersection itself, the group of 4 buildings are outlined in red on the map before you. They include 1800 North Halstead at the northwest corner, 1732 North Halstead at the southwest corner, and 1733 and 1727 through 29 North Halstead, which are located side by side on the southeast corner. In a nutshell, each of the 4 mixed-use buildings, all originally with ground floor commercial uses and upper floor residential uses, date from the 1880s and form a rare grouping of such buildings that have served as a highly localized node of activity for nearly 140 years. To that end, at its December 2020 meeting, the Commission found that the Halsted Willow group of buildings met 3 criteria for Chicago landmark designation, including criterion 1 for heritage. The Halsted Willow Group is a significant group of 19th century mixed-use buildings. Built in the 1880s during a period of great growth for Chicago in general and the Lincoln Park community area in particular, they remain an important link to Chicago's economic and social history for both Chicago residents and visitors. The buildings in the Halsted Willow Group were built and used by ethnic German immigrants and their descendants through the late 19th and early 20th centuries, exemplifying the historic importance of Germans to Chicago and its neighborhoods. In addition, it should be noted that over the early decades, collectively, the buildings housed several commercial enterprises that served the area, including a butcher, various saloons, a grocer, drugstore, and a public hall. Most notably, the 1800 North Halstead building was the home of Schulien's, a German tavern restaurant that was a beehive of activity and became even more famous for Matt Schulien's magic shows. The Commission also found that the grouping meets criterion 4 for exemplary architecture. The Halsted Willow Group is a significant group of Victorian-era store and flats buildings, exemplifying the importance of this commercial building type. As noted, one building also historically housed a third-floor public hall, a type of meeting hall of significance to Chicago's working and middle-class neighborhoods. In addition, the buildings in the Halsted Willow Group are fine and significant examples of neighborhood mixed-use buildings in the Italianate and Queen Anne architectural styles, both significant styles to the history of Chicago architecture and characteristic of the city's 19th century architecture. Moreover, the buildings in the group are finely constructed and ornamented with brick, stone, terracotta, and pressed metal, exemplifying the best of late 19th century craftsmanship and use of building materials. The Commission also found that the grouping meets criterion 6 for its association with a theme. The Halsted Willow Group's buildings display a visual unity based on a consistent scale and size, building setbacks, overall design, use of building materials, and detailing. And the buildings of the group form an informal gateway to the residential neighborhoods east and west of Hallstead due to their location, appearance, and handsome design. In addition to the landmark criteria just discussed, the Commission found that the group also meets the separate integrity criterion. Overall, the Halsted Willow Group has excellent historic integrity, as is represented by this vintage and current photo of 1800 North Halstead. The group's buildings retain their original sites, overall building forms, and character-defining exterior details. They retain historic window patterns and openings, as well as ornamental brickwork, terracotta, and pressed metal. Therefore, in conclusion, staff recommends that the Commission make a final recommendation for landmark designation of the Halsted Willow Group, and that the significant historical and architectural features of the Halsted Willow Group be identified as all exterior elevations, including roof lines, of the buildings visible from public rights-of-way. You have a final recommendation to that effect. Thank you.
Thank you, Dan. Does the Commission have any questions for Dan or for Commissioner Hughes on this item? Having none, I'd like to request a motion to adopt the final landmark recommendation to City Council for the Halsted Willow Group at 1726 to 1808 North Halstead Street, 1727 to 1733 North Halstead Street, 800 to 812 West Willow Street, and 745 to 813 West Willow Street. Is there a motion?
So moved, Commissioner Hughes.
Thank you, Commissioner Hughes. Is there a second? Second, Commissioner Jekowicz. Okay, I'll do the roll call. Commissioner Tolliver.
Yes.
Commissioner Osmond.
Yes.
Commissioner Cox. Come back to Commissioner Cox. Commissioner Aguirre.
Yes.
Commissioner Ponce.
Yes.
I'm also a yes. I'll go back. Commissioner Cox. Could the record show that he was present? The motion carries. Thank you, Commissioner Hughes, for your service as a hearing officer for this. Is this the last item? No, not quite. Almost last item. Next item on the agenda is the Class L property tax incentive final certification for the old Chicago, Maine Post Office building, 401 to 439 West Van Buren Street, and 401 to 535 South Canal Street, 400 to 436 West Harrison Street in the 25th Ward. And I need to recuse myself from this agenda item due to a potential conflict of interest, and would like to ask Vice Chairman Jekowicz to take over the meeting in my place. Your show, Commissioner Jekowicz.
Thank you, Chairman. I'd like to call on Deanna Cavallo for the presentation.
Thank you, Commissioner. Certification of the scope of work and budget for a Class L project is the final step by the Commission on Chicago Landmarks to administer this incentive. This certification would then be used by the building owner to complete their application for the Class L tax reduction with the Cook County Assessor. On February 28, 2018, the City Council approved a Class L real estate property tax incentive for the old Chicago, Maine Post Office building. The building was built in two stages, starting with a 6-story United States Mail building that was built in 1921, much of which was subsumed by the 1934 construction. Both iterations of the post office were designed by Graham, Anderson, Probst, and White. The property was designated a Chicago landmark on February 28, 2018. A copy of the Class L ordinance and exhibits, as well as the final report from the owner, which documents the completed project, was in your packets. The owner has also applied for the 20% federal rehabilitation tax credit for the project. 601W Companies Chicago LLC purchased the 2.5 million square foot old Chicago, Maine Post Office building in 2016. The building was vacant and deteriorating for almost 20 years. The multi-phase rehabilitation of the property to transform it into an office building including a retail base, catering to the office users seeking expansive and open floor layouts, has been completed. The extensive exterior work included limestone, granite, marble, and terracotta repairs on all facades, as well as spot cleaning. Masonry that was too damaged to repair was replaced to match historic. The main entrances on Van Buren Street were retained, repaired, and made accessible. New entrances were sensitively introduced on other elevations to accommodate new retail and commercial uses. The large multi-pane windows and storefronts along the two-story base of the building were restored where possible. Deteriorated double-hung windows on the upper floors were replaced with new windows that closely matched the historic in configuration and detailing. A new roof deck with amenities has been constructed, including a dining bar area, a multi-sports court, 2 paddle tennis courts, an amphitheater, a running track, multiple walking paths, and various seating areas, all surrounded by landscape vegetation covering at least 50% of the net roof area. Restoration of the historic main lobby included extensive restoration of the white marble walls, stone floors, gold glass, mosaic tiles, monumental windows, and light fixtures. Beyond the historic main lobby, the interior scope of work to rehabilitate the building for office use was with associated amenities that includes a fitness center and spa, indoor parking, conference center, a dining and an indoor entertainment venue has been substantially completed. In the north office section, the 10 floors above the main lobby were rehabilitated for office use, and the former postmaster's office and conference room suite on the 4th floor were retained and restored. All mechanical, electrical, plumbing, and fire protection systems were replaced with new systems. The project is in compliance with the Chicago Sustainable Development Policy, and the building has been certified LEED Gold. The initial budget for the Class L eligible expenses was about $147 million. The owner has spent over $280 million for the Class L eligible scope of work, which is $133 million more than initially estimated. In total, the owner invested about $402 million in the project. The project generated approximately 6,000 construction jobs. An estimated 17,000 people could work in the building when it is fully leased and occupied. The building is currently about 78% leased. Staff recommends that the commission certify completion of the Class L project. The applicant has provided a short video that we would like to show now, and representatives of the owner are here to make a statement following the video and to respond to any questions you may have. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Before we go to the applicant, does the commission have any questions for Deanna or? Okay, there being none, can we hear from the applicant, Mariah DeGrino?
Yes, thank you. For the record, my name is Mariah DeGrino with the law firm of DLA Piper in Chicago. We represent the applicant 601W Companies. I'm joined by Brian Oyster with JLL, the project and property manager. Before I turn it over to Brian, I just want to say how excited I am to be here today. This project has been a labor of love for so many people for many years. Part of this team, part of prior efforts on the city, observers, supporters, cheerleaders, so many people have had a vision to see this done. And so it's incredible to be here today. And it seems even more appropriate to be here today as we all as a city emerge from COVID and into a post-COVID world to be able to celebrate the renewal of this building. So thank you for your time today. And I'll turn it over to Brian Oyster to introduce himself and say a few words as well.
Thank you. Is Brian available?
There. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay. So thank you. I am the general manager of the building with JLL, but I'm representing 601 West Companies. And on their behalf, we want to thank the commission for making this designation happen for the old post office. The Class L tax credits is a tremendous benefit and is one of the main reasons the old post office project has been such a success. Going back, looking at when tenants or prospects began to tour the building, we were demolishing the building, trying to redevelop it, and there wasn't much to show to prospects coming into the building. However, as we laid out plans, showed them the immense amenities package that would go into the building, and begin to talk about the Class L tax credits, eyes began to open, and it began a process for the building. Originally, our plan was to lease this building within 3 to 5 years, and remarkably, we leased it within a year. We went and leased 1.9 million square feet of a 2.3 million square foot building, roughly 80% of the project within a 1-year time period. Then going into COVID, when no one was leasing any space in the city of Chicago, even across the country, we were able to lease an additional 230,000 square feet within the last 6 to 8 months, bringing the occupancy level up to almost 90%. So it's a huge success story, and Class L tax benefits are a big part and a primary driver for the success of this building. So a huge thank you to the City of Chicago and the Commission for making this happen. Also a big shout out to the Buildings Department, Grant Ulrich, Jose Aparicio. They were very big supporters of the project, along with their inspection teams, the Chicago Fire Department, which all made this happen. So again, thank you very much. 601 is very grateful to all the support, and we hope you're happy with the project.
Thank you, Brian. Thank you, Mariah. Does the commission have any questions for the owner's representatives? I'm looking for hands, virtual hands. I don't see any. Oh, there's Commissioner Aguirre.
Thank you, Commissioner Jankovic. It's just a curiosity question. I have heard that this building is providing with the largest rooftop in our city, and I'm just super excited about rooftop spaces, but also like what an amazing amenity is that, and we saw from the video. So it's just out of curiosity.
Is there a question, or I'm sorry? I would like to say it is the largest rooftop in the country, actually, that we found out. Wasn't by design, but we found out that designation, so we're happy for that.
Thank you. That's just my excitement for outdoor spaces, and congratulations.
Yes, thank you.
It is an incredible rooftop, and I was just curious, is that is amenity for folks in the building, right? It's not open to the public?
So it's primarily for the tenants of the building, but it's open to the public to rent. And so we have one little curiosity about the building is that it's become a huge wedding venue and events venue. We're booked from now till all the way through 22 and actually going into 23 right now, every weekend for weddings and other events, for corporate events as well. So the rooftop is a big part of that. So
I would add to that, Commissioner Osmond, that the CAC Gala is there on the roof on September 14th.
There you go. I see Commissioner Ponce has her hand raised.
Yes, I do. No, this is an absolute great endeavor in completing this project. And I am also curious, we've all heard the term when it comes to landmarks that the greenest building is the one that already exists. And if there's anything you can share as far as the sustainability story and how the project pushed innovation in any way in having a landmark status, as far as, the carbon reduction of using an existing building, but anything else that you could share on that and how we can pick up, tips on innovation.
Well, I can say that the landmark status, we've taken it a step further and we've gone after further designations for the property. So it's a LEED existing building, LEED Gold certification, but we're also going for, core and shell, and now we're pursuing existing building as well as the Fitwell certification. So all of these are going to come together at the same time, probably in the next month, which is really going to help the building itself. We have done everything in our possibility to make the building as green as we can. So the rooftop is a big part of that. We have bees on the roof. We recycle wet and dry trash. There's many different avenues to the LEED certification, but yes, we are very supportive of that part of the sustainability effort.
Great, thank you for that. I see Commissioner Hughes.
Yes, I just want to commend the team on this project. I'm always just blown away by the amount of footprint that this building takes up. And also equally, it takes up the same amount of history and identity in our city, right? And my question for you guys, with there being such a large footprint and there being so much real estate and space available, is there any components of your build out and design that's dedicated to social impact of the community? Are there any spaces that local community members will be able to come and plug and play and utilize the space, not necessarily renting, for instance? What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, the entire first floor is all open to the public. So the lobby itself, the grand hall, the food hall, which will be opening up in, hopefully by the end of the year. All the retail, which is Walgreens, is on the first floor. They're the first of a few tenants that will be in that area. Then also the East Plaza, we just finished that space and we'll be opening that up probably in the next week. But that's open to the public as well. That's along the river. The West Plaza is being developed right now. That'll be another venue or access point into the building, but it'll also be open to the public. So generally, the first floor is all public space.
Great.
Beautiful. Thank you.
Great questions. And thank you for the answers. And is there anybody else, any other commissioners that would like to make a statement or have a question? I'm seeing none. With that, I'd like to request a motion that the commission certifies that the project has been substantially complete in accordance with the approved ordinance and meets the eligibility requirements for the Class L incentive for the old Chicago, Maine post office building. Do I have a motion?
So moved,
So
Commissioner
moved.
Ponce.
Second.
I have Commissioner Ponce has made a motion. I have a second from Commissioner Tolliver. And I suppose we do a roll call now. Commissioner Hughes.
Yes.
Commissioner Hughes. Thank you. Commissioner Osmond.
Yes.
Great. Commissioner Aguirre.
Yes.
Commissioner Cox.
Yes.
I believe that is everyone. Right. And with that, the motion passes, carries unanimously. Congratulations to the entire team and everyone involved in this effort, Herculean effort, to breathe new life into an incredible structure for the city, and really shows the possibilities with what the Class L incentive can do. So with that, I'd like to invite Chairman Wong back to the meeting.
Thank you, Vice Chairman Jekowitz. Appreciate that. Always amazed by this project. So the next item on the agenda is the amendment of the rules and regulations of the Commission on Chicago Landmarks. From time to time, the Commission may amend its rules and regulations in response to the state of Illinois' evolving response to the COVID-19 public health crisis, and in order to allow for the continuation of remote public participation in commission meetings, an option which has provided greater convenience and opportunity for members of the public to provide input to the commission meetings, the following two amendments are proposed. First, an amendment to Article 1, Section F would allow the chair to issue emergency rules in line with the Illinois Open Meetings Act when a public health disaster covering the city of Chicago has been declared, rather than solely in response to specific directives contained in executive orders or legislation. Second, the addition of Section G to Article 1 would allow the chair to promulgate emergency rules regarding remote public participation independent of the existence of a disaster declaration, provided that such rules are posted on the Commission's website. And lastly, a third amendment is proposed to the rules and regulations to allow for greater efficiency with regard to the use of the Commission staff time. Article 3, Section C4 is proposed to be amended to extend the period a conditional approval of the Permanent Review Committee or Commission is valid from 2 to 4 years. So those are the amendments to the rules and regulations. I'd like to call for any questions from the Commission of these rules. Are there any questions or discussion? Basically, this is to allow for the general public to continue to have their pieces said virtually, and being able to do things without, in addition to the governor's legislation. So with that, no discussion, I'd like to request a motion to adopt the proposed amendment to the rules and regulations of the Commission on Chicago Landmarks. Is there a motion?
I think there's a hand up.
Oh, there was a hand up.
It's okay. It was me, but Commissioner Chairman, it's okay. Keep going.
Oh no, go ahead.
Oh no, it was a reflection about, how that's going to be really important for the work of the commission, allowing that hybrid participation of the public. I think we have witnessed, that accessibility virtually. So I just wanted to comment on the importance of recognizing how this year, this moment has allowed us to use tools that we didn't have before as part of our meetings. So we'll see how that works in practice, but we are all welcoming hybrid forms of participation, and hopefully the public feels more encouraged and feels these meetings more accessible.
Thank you, Commissioner Gary. I totally agree. It is, we're in a ever changing world here, and we gotta change to adapt. So are you making a motion also?
I can enthusiastically make a motion.
Okay. Is there a second?
Second,
A second by Commissioner Hughes. Commissioner Tolliver.
Yes.
Commissioner Osmond.
Yes.
Commissioner Cox. Commissioner Cox. Why is it that Commissioner Cox is never voting on the stuff that I have, but Commissioner Jekovich gets them to vote? Commissioner Ponce.
Assistance.
Was that a yes, Commissioner Cox?
That was a yes. Thank you.
Commissioner Ponce.
Yes.
And I am also voting yes. The motion carries unanimously. So last one on the agenda is the Permit Review Committee reports from July 1st, 2021. And Commissioner Gary, you're on.
Thank you, Chairman. The Permit Review Committee reviewed 5 projects at its July 1st, 2021 meeting. 1 project was approved as submitted and 4 projects were approved with conditions. The report summarizing the scope of the proposed projects and the committee's decision was included in your packets, and this report is for your information and for the record.
Thank you, Commissioner Gary. And Larry, if you could give the report, please.
I certainly will. For the month of July, staff reviewed 231 permit applications. A total of 247 reviews were performed by staff, and the average number of days to issue the approval or corrections was 2.2 days. Staff also reviewed 29 sign applications during that period. In addition to that, there was a plaque installation ceremony at the Emmett Till home recently, and I'm going to refer that to Matt Crawford for a little more information. So take it away, Matt.
Thanks, Larry. Commissioners, can you hear me?
Yes.
Great. So there was a celebration July 25th. It was a Sunday that's related to your work. We just wanted to review it for you. So you'll remember that the West Woodlawn 2 flat where Emmett Till lived with his mom received landmark designation in January. And then this past summer, July 25th, would have been Emmett Till's 80th birthday. So the owner of the 2 flats, one of our newest landmarks, Naomi Davis of Blacks and Green, hosted a celebration at the property a few weeks ago. Next slide, please. And so here's Naomi at the podium in front of the house for the event. Very well attended, a very good media response. I think every newspaper was there. This was well reported. You probably saw some of the press on it. And, you know, Naomi's working to restore this property. And we're going to continue to look out for her in terms of adopt a landmark application. Next slide, please. She did a great job. It was really a wonderful event celebrating Emmett Till and his incredible mom. There was ice cream from a Bronzeville Creamery, story circles, and produce from Blacks and Greens Farm. Next slide, please. And a real sense of community and meaning tied to the day and the place, this new landmark place. Next slide, please. So prior to the event, Dan worked to get the bronze landmark plaque fabricated in time, which was not easy as our foundry was in the process of moving, but he got it done. Next slide. And the event culminated in an unveiling of the landmark plaque shown here. There's Naomi. Next slide. And the plaque itself. So it will be installed on the building once she gets around to finishing masonry cleaning and repairs. But for now, the plaque is going to stay at her office, the Green Living Room. And this was just a great celebration of heritage and a community coming together. You know, a lot of times our work can be pretty can be difficult to convince people of the value of place and heritage, but this community gets it. So it was a lot of fun for us to be part of that. So we just wanted to report that out to you. Thank you.
Thank you, Matt. That is absolutely wonderful. I understand that Commissioner Hughes, you were there.
I was in attendance. Beautiful, beautiful celebration. It's right around the corner from my house. So me and the pup headed over and got to meet a bunch of community residents. It was an absolute joyous day to celebrate Emmett Till.
Well, thank you. It's so wonderful to see the community kind of, you know, coalescing around something as important as this, and you know, something that really, quite frankly, has impacted the entire world. And so we give our thanks to Naomi Davis and her efforts, and just, you know, to show how much this, you know, community effort can help in promoting stuff like this. So thank you. Okay, well, there being no further business, I'd like to request a motion to adjourn. Is there a motion?
So moved.
And second?
So moved. Seconded. Osmond.
Second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
And anybody? All right, the motion carries unanimously. Permit Review Committee will begin at, Commissioner Gary?
Is it 2:35? Okay, Tech? Can I get confirmation on that?
Yes, 2:35 would be great.
2:35 will reconvene. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.